Let's look at loops now. Now, Python has two primitive loop commands. We have while and for. Let's take an example. So we say that if I is equal to 1, while the value of I is less than 6, we want to do something. So let's say we want to print I, and we also want to increment I. So we can either say I is equal to I plus 1 like this, or if you remember, we can also do I plus equal to 1, and we will get the same result like this. Now do remember, you have to increment I, otherwise the loop will continue forever. Let's do one more example. Here we say that I is equal to 1, and while I is less than, let's say, 8, we want to print I, and if I is equal to 3, we want to break, and then we want to increment I, so plus equal to 1. And if you notice, even though the while loop is running till 8, the moment it reaches 3, it exits the condition, which is called a break statement. So you can stop the loop even if the condition is true. Then we have a continue statement through which we can stop the current iteration and continue with the next. So I is equal to 0, and we say that while I is less than 8, we want to increment by 1, and we say that if I is equal to 3, we want to continue and we want to print I. So this time you notice it gives us all the results till 8. So despite the fact that there was a condition that checked whether we reached 3 or not, we did not stop, we did not exit the loop, we continued with the rest of the numbers. Let's do one more example. We say I is equal to 1, and while I is less than 8, we want to print I. Then we also want to increment I by 1. Else, we want to print I is no longer less than 8. So you notice it continues up till 7, and the moment it becomes 8, which means that I is not less than 8, it says I is no longer less than 8. Let us come to for loops now. So a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence, which can be a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or even a string for that matter. Okay, now we'll take an example. We say that fruits is equal to apple and banana and cherry. And we say that for x in fruits, which means that it is going through every item inside, we want to print x. And the result is apple, banana, and cherry. The for loop, remember, does not require an indexing variable to be set beforehand. Like I said, even strings can be iterable objects because they contain a sequence of characters. So if I say for x in apples, print x, it will print, let me put this inside. Okay, what just happened? I forgot the colon. So if you notice, even apples, which is a string, is being considered as a sequence of characters, and every character can be split like this. Let us see how we use the break statement. So I'll copy my first line here, and we say that for x in fruits, we want to print x, and we want to check whether x is equal to a particular fruit, let's say banana, and if it is, we want to break. So you notice the moment it reaches the second, it stops, it doesn't show me the third one. All right, let's do a slight variation. This time we want to say print x like this, right? So if you notice, we're not printing it here. And this time when I print, we only get the first one like this, right? Not even the second one, because the printing is happening after the if statement, not before the if statement. Similarly, with the continue, we can just copy this code and we will say that if x is equal to banana, then continue. And this time, apple and cherry are printed except banana. Now, if you want to loop through a set of code as a specified number of times, you can use the range function. So the range function returns a sequence of numbers which starts at 0 by default, and it increments by 1 by default and ends at the specified number. So if we say for x in range 6 and we say print x, you notice it prints from 0 till 5 because there are 6 of these. This is very important. Remember, it will not be values from 0 to 6 but from 0 to 5. Now, if you want to, you can also specify the starting value. So I can say 2 comma 6, and that will make it start at 2. Similarly, if you want to change the increment, you can add something. So let's make it 2 and 20 and 3. So you notice we get 2 and an increment of 3 between every number. So we get 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. So the else keyword in a for loop specifies a block of code to be executed when the loop is finished. So we say for x in range 6, we want to print x, else we want to print finished. So after coming till 0 to 5, it finishes. We can also have a nested loop, which is a loop within a loop. So the inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration of the outer loop. So let's take an example. We say that we have 3 values. So we have red and pig and let's say tasty. And we have fruits, which is equal to, let's say, apple and then banana, and we have cherry. So here we say that for x in ADJ, for y in fruit. So remember, we're writing 2 loops here. We want to print x comma y. So you notice we get the first, which is red with 3 of the fruits, then big with 3 fruits, and then tasty with 3 fruits. For loops cannot be empty, but if for some reason you want to have a for loop with no content, like we did earlier, we can use pass statement to avoid an error. So for x in 0, 1, 2, if I just run it, we get an error. But if you write the same thing with a pass, then we don't get an error.